The golden probe tumbled through space, silent and alone. It had traveled for almost 300 years, carrying messages from a world that hoped someone might listen. The Valorian patrol ship found it near the edge of their controlled space, caught in the gravity well of a dying star. Commander Vexthal stood before the primitive device in the analysis chamber. His 4 eyes studied the metal disc attached to its side. Strange symbols covered the surface. Pictures of bipedal creatures. Mathematical formulas. Sound waves etched into gold. This is their fastest technology? Vexthal asked. His translator officer nodded, mandibles clicking with amusement. Yes, Commander. Chemical propulsion. It would take them 40,000 years to reach even their nearest star system. Vexthal felt something close to pity. The probe's creators had sent it out with hope, never knowing how far behind they truly were. The Valorian Imperium had been traveling between stars for 4,000 years. They controlled 12,000 systems. Their empire stretched across 1/4 of the galaxy. Analyze everything, Vexthal ordered. Find their homeworld. It took 3 days. The probe contained detailed maps showing exactly where it came from. A yellow star. 3rd planet, Waterworld. The creatures called themselves humans. They called their planet Earth. The data traveled up the chain of command. From Vexthal to Fleet Coordinator Shrenax. From Shrenax to the Territorial Expansion Council. From the Council to the Imperium High Command. Everyone who saw it reached the same conclusion. Earth was perfect. The planet held rare metals, water in abundance, breathable atmosphere, and a primitive species that still fought each other with chemical explosives. Their most advanced achievement was placing a few of their own on their moon. They had not even colonized their own star system. War Marshal Thexulan received the assignment personally from the Imperium throne. He was a decorated commander with 60 successful pacification campaigns. He had brought 18 species into the Imperium, either as citizens or slaves, depending on their cooperation. This would be his easiest conquest yet. Thexulan assembled the 4th Expeditionary Fleet, 300 warships. Enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. For a species that still used radio waves for communication, it was overwhelming force. They will surrender immediately, Thexulan told his bridge officers as the fleet prepared to depart. Their primitive minds will see our ships and understand they have no choice. We will accept their surrender, establish mining operations, and integrate their world into the Imperium. 3 days, maybe 4. His tactical officer, a young Valorian named Kreth, seemed less certain. Sir, should we send scouts first? Gather current intelligence? The probe is 300 years old. Thexulan's neck frill flared with irritation. 300 years for them is nothing. Look at their technological curve. In 300 years, they progressed from wooden ships to primitive rockets. They are probably still using those same rockets now. We have sensors that can see through planets. We have weapons that bend reality. What could they possibly do? Kreth lowered his head in submission. The War Marshal was right, of course. No species jumped from chemical rockets to true space power in just 3 centuries. It took the Valorians 1,800 years to develop their first hyperspace drive. It was the natural progression of civilization. The fleet entered hyperspace with ceremony. Banners displaying the Imperium seal hung from every flagship. This was not just conquest. It was the spreading of civilization to lesser beings. It was the burden and glory of the Empire. The journey took 6 days through folded space. The fleet emerged at the edge of the Sol system, near the orbit of the 8th planet. Thexulan chose this entry point deliberately. It would give the humans time to see them coming. Time to understand the futility of resistance. Scan the system, Thexulan commanded. Locate their homeworld and all colonies. The sensor officer worked for several minutes. Her frill colors shifted from calm blue to confused purple. War Marshal, I am detecting the 3rd planet. But the readings are unusual. Unusual how? There are structures, many structures, around the 3rd planet certainly, but also throughout the system. Satellites, perhaps. Thousands of them. No, tens of thousands. Thexulan felt the first whisper of doubt. What kind of structures? I cannot tell, sir. They are small. Perhaps scientific equipment, but the number seems excessive for a pre-spaceflight species. Perhaps they advanced more than we thought, Thexulan said. It changes nothing. Prepare the standard contact protocol. All ships to battle formation. Activate shields. The fleet moved into position, a wall of steel and energy that covered thousands of kilometers. Each ship was a cathedral of war, bristling with weapons that could boil oceans and shatter mountains. Thexulan composed the surrender demand himself. He kept it simple. He had learned that primitive species responded better to clear, direct language. People of Earth, you are in the presence of the Valorian Imperium. We claim this system and all its resources by right of superior civilization. You will surrender all military forces. You will cooperate with integration procedures. Resistance will result in the destruction of your world and the enslavement of your species. You have 1 of your hours to respond. The message transmitted across all frequencies. Radio waves, microwave, even primitive laser communications. Surely the humans would receive it through one channel or another. The response came in 11 seconds. It was not a message. The space around Jupiter erupted with light. Hundreds of those small structures revealed themselves as weapons platforms. They had been silent, cold, invisible to standard scans. Now they burned with power signatures that made the Valorian sensors scream warnings. Evasive maneuvers. Thexulan shouted, but it was already too late. Things moved through space faster than anything should move. They were not missiles. They were pieces of metal, tiny compared to the warships, but accelerated to a fraction of light speed. When they hit the Valorian shields, they went through like the shields were not there. The first ship to die was the Glorious Conquest. The metal slug hit its forward section and the entire ship simply ceased to exist. No explosion, just there one moment and gone the next, transformed into a cloud of atoms spreading through space. Then the beams came. Focused energy that burned with the heat of stars. They carved through Valorian armor like it was soft clay. Ships that had survived 36 battles broke apart under weapons they had no defense against. Return fire, Thexulan ordered. All ships return fire. The fleet tried. Plasma cannons discharged. Missile tubes launched their deadly cargo. Energy weapons painted the void with destruction. But their targets moved too fast. The weapons platforms scattered and regrouped with impossible precision. And then the swarms arrived. At first, Thexulan thought they were seeing asteroids. Then he realized they were ships. Millions of tiny ships, each no larger than a Valorian escape pod. They swarmed over the fleet like insects, attaching to hulls, burrowing through armor, destroying from within. We are reading defensive shields. The sensor officer shouted over the alarms. The humans have defensive shields. Their technology matches ours. No, exceeds ours. Thexulan stared at his screens in horror. This was impossible. The probe was only 300 years old. 300 years ago, these creatures were primitives. What had happened? How had they hidden this? His flagship shuddered as something massive tore through the port side. The bridge lights flickered. Smoke filled the air. All ships retreat, Thexulan commanded. Jump to hyperspace. Emergency evacuation. Only 6 ships managed to initiate hyperspace jumps before they too were destroyed. The Valorian Imperium 4th Expeditionary Fleet, 300 ships strong, ceased to exist. The battle lasted 11 minutes. In the silence that followed, debris tumbled through space. And Earth, the primitive world, the easy conquest, remained untouched and unconcerned in the distance. Admiral Chen Yuki stood in the command center deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland. Around her, 300 officers monitored screens showing every corner of the Sol system. Above them, projected in holographic light, floated the debris field that had once been an alien fleet. Casualty report, Chen said quietly. 0 human casualties, replied Commander Jackson. 3 defense platforms suffered minor damage. All autonomous units returning to recharge stations. Total ammunition expenditure, 4% of available stockpile. Chen nodded slowly. She felt no joy. The victory meant something terrible. After 60 years of watching and waiting, humanity's worst fear had come true. The galaxy knew they existed. Send the recall signal, Chen ordered. All long-range observation posts returned to Sol space. Every ship, every probe, every listening station. Bring them all home. Yes, Admiral. Chen walked to the main display. It showed Earth, blue and peaceful, unaware that a battle had just been fought in their solar system. Most people on the planet had no idea what had just happened. The Terran coordination kept these secrets closely guarded. She thought about the Voyager probe. It had seemed like such a beautiful gesture back in 1977, a message of hope to the stars. The scientists who built it had dreams of peaceful contact, of joining a galactic community of enlightened beings. Those scientists had been wrong about the galaxy. The first hint came in 2067, When humanity finally developed quantum-entangled observation technology, the devices could watch distant star systems without sending anything physical across space. What humanity saw changed everything. The galaxy was full of empires, dozens of civilizations, each controlling hundreds or thousands of worlds, and between these empires were the ruins, dead worlds, extinct species, failed colonies. The galaxy was not a place of peace and cooperation. It was a place of conquest and survival. The Terran Coordination formed in 2071. Every nation on Earth contributed. The public message was about exploring space together. The private truth was about survival. Humanity built weapons. They built defenses. They turned their entire solar system into a fortress and kept it all hidden. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Zhao from the communications station, "we are receiving messages from the Lunar Observatory." They detected 6 ships entering hyperspace. 6 survivors from the alien fleet. Chen felt her stomach tighten. 6 ships had escaped. 6 ships that would report back to their empire. 6 ships that would tell everyone that humanity was not what they appeared to be. "How long until they reach their destination?" Chen asked. "Unknown, Admiral. We do not know where they are going or how fast their hyperspace travel is." Chen made her decision. "Contact President Okonkwo. Emergency Authorization Alpha 7. We need to implement the response protocol." Commander Jackson looked up sharply. "Admiral, are you certain? Once we transmit, there is no taking it back." "Those 6 ships took back the same message," Chen replied. "That we are here, that we are dangerous, that we destroyed their fleet. We cannot control what they say, but we can control how the rest of the galaxy hears it." The authorization came through in 20 minutes. The President, the Security Council, and the Coordination Assembly all agreed. Humanity would send their own message. Dr. Sarah Okafor entered the command center. She was the head of xenolinguistics, and for the past 40 years she had studied every alien communication humanity had intercepted. She carried a data pad with the message already prepared. "We kept it simple," Dr. Okafor explained. "Direct, clear. No possibility of misunderstanding." Chen read the message on the holographic display. It was brutal in its efficiency, no poetry. No appeals to mercy or understanding, just facts and threats. "Send it," Chen ordered. The transmission used the captured communication technology from the destroyed alien ships. Humanity had studied it, improved it, and integrated it into their own systems. The message would reach every communication relay in Valorian space. Billions of beings would hear it. The message played across the Valorian Imperium networks. It began with video of the battle. 11 minutes compressed into 60 seconds. 300 warships reduced to nothing. The footage showed the weapons platforms, the relativistic kill vehicles, the energy beams, the drone swarms. It showed the complete and total destruction. Then came the technical specifications. Humanity provided details about their weapons. Railguns that accelerated projectiles to 12% of light speed. Energy weapons powered by fusion reactors. Autonomous combat drones with quantum-linked coordination. Defensive shields that bent space itself. Several of these technologies violated the Valorian warfare conventions. The Imperium had rules about weapons of mass destruction, limits on what could be used even in total war. Humanity's arsenal ignored all of it. The message continued with tactical analysis. It showed how humanity had tracked the Valorian fleet from the moment it entered hyperspace. How the defense platforms had been in position for 3 days before the fleet arrived. How every shot had been calculated and precise. How humanity had not even needed to use their full arsenal. "You sent 300 ships," the message stated in clear Valorian language. "We destroyed them in 11 minutes. You mobilized for 3 weeks to prepare this fleet. We have been ready for 60 years. The screen showed more data, manufacturing capacity, shipyard locations, resource extraction rates. Humanity was showing the Valorians exactly how outmatched they were. "Send 3,000 ships," the message continued. "We will need 12 minutes. Send your entire armada, and we will show you why Earth invented the word genocide. This is not a threat. This is a calculation. We have run the numbers. We know what we can do." Then came the ultimatum. Simple, direct, terrifying. "Stay away from Sol. The star you call Sol 1973 Alpha belongs to humanity. We claim all planets, moons, and asteroids within 50 light years. Any Valorian ship detected in this space will be destroyed without warning or mercy." The message ended with coordinates. Not coordinates to Earth, coordinates to something else. Chen watched as Dr. Okafor explained what those numbers meant. That is the location of their capital world, Dr. Okafor said quietly. We are telling them we know where they live. The implications hung in the air like smoke. Humanity was not just defending their home. They were making it clear they could strike back. Commander Jackson pulled up the observation data. Admiral, we are detecting increased communication traffic across Valorian space. Their networks are overloaded with transmissions. Can we decode any of it? Chen asked, fragments only. But the emotional content is clear. They are afraid. Chen felt no satisfaction in that. Fear made people unpredictable. An empire that felt threatened might do anything. What is our estimate on their response time? Chen asked. Commander Jackson consulted with his tactical team. If they respond with diplomacy, we could see envoys within 2 weeks. If they mobilize for war, 3 to 6 months depending on the size of the force. And if they decide to use weapons of mass destruction? If they try to destroy Earth from a distance? We have countermeasures, Jackson replied. The orbital defense grid can intercept most known projectiles. If they try to use hyperspace missiles, our early warning systems should give us enough time to respond. Chen nodded. Should. Probably. Maybe. War always came down to uncertainty. Increase readiness to level 1, Chen ordered. All defensive systems active. All personnel to combat stations. I want every sensor in the Sol system operating at maximum. If a single atom enters our space wrong, I want to know about it. The command center burst into activity. Across the solar system, thousands of defense platforms came fully online. Ships that had been in standby mode powered up their reactors. Marines boarded shuttles heading for defensive positions. Humanity prepared for whatever came next. Chen looked at the Earth floating peacefully on the display. Down there, people were going about their lives, working, loving, dreaming. They had no idea that their species had just announced itself to the galaxy as an apex predator. Admiral, Lieutenant Zhao called out, we are receiving a response from the lunar colony. They want to know if we should begin evacuations. Chen shook her head. Where would they go? If the Valorians decide to destroy Earth, there is nowhere in the solar system that would be safe. We stand and fight or we die trying. She turned to face her command staff. Young and old, military and civilian, they all looked at her with trust. They believed she could keep Earth safe. Chen hoped they were right. This is just the beginning, Chen said quietly. We showed them we can fight. Now we see if they are smart enough to walk away. The Valorian Imperium High Council chamber fell silent as the human transmission ended. 12 members of the ruling council sat in their elevated seats, their neck frills displaying colors that ranged from shocked white to angry crimson. Below them, military advisors and intelligence officers stood frozen, afraid to speak first. High Counselor Trevinash broke the silence. His voice was steady despite the tremor in his inner eyelids. How many survived? War Coordinator Jendrak stepped forward. He was younger than most of the council, aggressive, decorated with scars from personal combat. 6 ships, High Counselor. They are currently in transit to the nearest military base. We should have full debriefing reports within 2 days. 300 ships, another counselor whispered. 300 ships destroyed in 11 minutes. We need to understand what happened, Trevinash said. The probe was only 300 years old. How did they advance so quickly? The chief science advisor, an elderly Valorian named Sheksith, approached the council podium. She moved slowly, her body bent with age, but her mind remained sharp. High Counselor, I have reviewed the human transmission 47 times. I have analyzed every frame of their battle footage, every specification they provided. I have come to a disturbing conclusion. Speak freely, advisor. They did not advance quickly, Sheksith said. They lied. The Voyager probe was a deception, or perhaps not a deception, but a trap. They sent it out knowing someone would find it, knowing someone would underestimate them. Murmurs spread through the chamber. War Coordinator Jendrak stepped forward again. That is speculation. There is no evidence they had advanced technology 300 years ago. Is there not? Sheksith challenged. Look at their defensive positions. Those weapons platforms were not built recently. The construction signatures suggest they have been in place for decades, perhaps longer. Look at their coordination systems. That level of integration requires generations of development. These humans did not suddenly become advanced. They were always advanced. They simply hid it very well. Trevinash felt cold despite the warm chamber air. Then we walked into an ambush. War Marshal Thexulan led 300 ships into a prepared kill zone. Yes, High Counselor. Why? Asked another council member. Why hide? Why not announce themselves? Join the galactic community? Perhaps they studied us first, Shexith suggested. Perhaps they watched the galaxy and decided they did not like what they saw. We claim to bring civilization to lesser species. But what do we really bring? Subjugation, exploitation, strip mining of resources. Maybe the humans watched and decided they wanted no part of it. Careful, advisor, Gendrax warned. That sounds dangerously close to criticism of the Imperium. I criticize nothing. I observe. And what I observe is that humanity prepared for war against us before we even knew they existed. That suggests significant intelligence gathering. They knew about us. They knew about our capabilities. They designed their weapons specifically to counter ours. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some councillors demanded immediate retaliation. Others called for diplomacy. A few suggested abandoning the Sol system entirely. Trevnash raised his hand for silence. What are our options? Gendrax was ready with the answer. We mobilize the Grand Armada. 8,000 ships. Battle-tested legions. We bring overwhelming force. They may have won one battle, but they cannot stand against the full might of the Imperium. And what will that cost us? Trevnash asked. In resources? Significant but manageable. In time? 6 months to fully assemble and position the Armada. And in lives? Gendrax hesitated. Unknown, High Counselor. But the humans showed us their weapons. We can develop countermeasures. Their railguns may be fast, but they travel in straight lines. We can use evasive patterns. Their energy weapons may be powerful, but they require enormous energy. We can target their power sources. Their drones may be numerous, but they need coordination signals. We can jam those signals. Shexith shook her head sadly. War Coordinator, you assume they showed us everything? Why would they do that? If you were preparing a defense, would you reveal your full arsenal to your enemy? What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that the humans are playing a psychological game. They showed us enough to frighten us, but they deliberately left us wondering what else they have. Look at their message. They did not just threaten us. They threatened to show us why Earth invented the word genocide. That is not a military term. That is psychological warfare. Trevnash considered this. The human message had been expertly crafted. It provided information and withheld information in equal measure. It demonstrated power while hinting at greater power held in reserve. They also provided coordinates to our capital world, another counselor pointed out. That is a direct threat against our home. Or a demonstration of intelligence capability, Shexith countered. They are telling us they can see us. They can reach us. Whether they actually have the capability to strike our capital is unknown, but the threat itself serves a purpose. It makes us afraid. I am not afraid of primitives, Gendrax declared, his neck frill flushed with defiant red. They destroyed one fleet, one. The Imperium has dozens of fleets. We have controlled this galaxy for 4,000 years. We have defeated species far more advanced than these humans claim to be. Name one, Shexith challenged. The Kreth Collective. The Jannari Alliance. None of those species had weapons like what we just witnessed, Shexith interrupted. None of them accelerated projectiles to relativistic speeds. None of them had energy weapons that could cut through our shields like they were not there. The Kreth Collective took 16 years to defeat. The Jannari Alliance took 9. How long do you think a war with Earth would take? Gendrax had no answer. Trevnash made his decision. We will pursue a dual approach. War Coordinator Zendrax, begin preliminary mobilization of the Grand Armada. But keep it quiet. I do not want the humans to know we are preparing. At the same time, we will send diplomatic envoys. We will attempt to open communications. We will try to understand what the humans truly want. High Counselor, that shows weakness, Gendrax protested. No, War Coordinator. It shows wisdom. We lost 300 ships and nearly 3,000 crew members. Before we lose more, I want to know exactly what we are facing. The Council voted. 8 members supported Trevnash's approach. 4 sided with Gendrax's call for immediate war. It was enough. Over the following weeks, the Valorian Imperium prepared for both possibilities. The Grand Armada began to assemble in secret at the staging grounds in the Kepler 442 system. Ships arrived daily from across the Empire. Supplies were stockpiled, legions trained for planetary assault, war plans were drafted and redrafted. Simultaneously, diplomatic channels opened. The Imperium sent carefully worded messages toward Earth. Offers of negotiation, requests for dialogue, suggestions of peaceful coexistence. The human response came after 7 days. It was brief. We do not negotiate with empires that opened contact with an invasion fleet. Stay out of Sol space. This is your only warning. Gendrax took the message to the High Council. There is your answer, High Counselor. They will not talk. They will only fight. We must strike them before they grow stronger. But Shexith had different data. High Counselor, I have been monitoring galactic communication networks. Other civilizations are watching this situation very carefully. The Kreth Remnant, the Janari territories, the Free Colonies. They are all waiting to see how we respond to humanity. What does that matter? Gendrax demanded. It matters because our response will define us. If we launch a full-scale invasion of a species that asked only to be left alone, what message does that send? We claim to be a civilizing force in the galaxy, but if we destroy the humans for daring to defend themselves, we reveal ourselves as nothing more than bullies and tyrants. The Imperium has never cared what lesser species think of us, Gendrax said. Perhaps we should start, Trevnash said quietly. Perhaps that is what the humans are trying to teach us. But in the Kepler 442 system, the Grand Armada continued to grow. 8,000 ships and counting. The largest military force the Valorian Imperium had assembled in 3 centuries. Gendrax personally oversaw the preparations. He studied the human weapon specifications. He developed countermeasures. He created battle plans that accounted for every demonstrated human capability. He was confident. The 4th Expeditionary Fleet had been unprepared. They had walked into an ambush. They had not expected resistance. The Grand Armada would be different. The Grand Armada would be ready. Gendrax stood on the command deck of his flagship and looked out at the assembled fleet. Thousands of warships floating in perfect formation, the might of the Imperium made manifest. Soon, he told his officers, soon we will show these humans what happens when you challenge an empire. He did not know that humanity was watching. Human observation probes had followed every ship to Kepler 442. Human analysts had counted every vessel. Human strategists had studied the Valorian preparations and found them wanting. Admiral Chen Yuki stood in her command center and studied the same fleet Gendrax was so proud of. She felt no fear, only cold calculation. They are assembling for war, Commander Jackson said. Yes, Chen agreed. Then we will show them what real war looks like. War Coordinator Gendrax walked through the command ship's main corridor with purpose in every step. Officers saluted as he passed, their neck frills displaying colors of respect and loyalty. The Grand Armada had reached full strength. 8,000 warships, 200 support vessels, enough firepower to sterilize 100 worlds. He entered the strategic planning room where his senior commanders waited. Holographic displays showed the fleet formation, supply lines, and the target, saw the human home system. Status report, Gendrax commanded. Fleet Commander Threxall stepped forward. She was a veteran of 30 campaigns, her scales marked with old scars. All ships report combat ready, War Coordinator. Supplies are at maximum capacity. Troop transports carry 400,000 legionnaires. We have planet crackers, bioweapons, and enough conventional ordnance to fight for 6 months without resupply. And the countermeasures, the defenses against human weapons? Installed and tested, War Coordinator. We have upgraded our shield generators based on analysis of the previous battle. The new configuration should deflect or absorb their energy weapons. We have also implemented randomized evasive protocols. Our ships will not follow predictable flight paths that their railguns can calculate. And the drones? The swarm weapons they used? We have developed electromagnetic pulse weapons specifically designed to disrupt their coordination systems. We estimate we can neutralize 70% of their autonomous units before they reach our ships. Gendrax nodded with satisfaction. Excellent. When do we depart? The High Council has not yet authorized the assault, War Coordinator. Gendrax's inner eyelids flickered with irritation. The Council has been debating for weeks. Meanwhile, the humans grow stronger. Every day we wait is another day they have to prepare. Perhaps that is the point, a voice said from the doorway. Gendrax turned to see Chief Science Advisor Shexith entering the room. She moved slowly, leaning on a support staff, but her eyes were sharp and alert. Advisor, this is a military planning session, Gendrax said coldly. High Counselor Trevnash sent me. He wants an independent assessment of the battle plan. Shexith moved to the holographic display. She studied it for several long moments. You believe you can win? I know we can win, Gendrax corrected. The humans showed their hand. We have adapted. We have improved. We have overwhelming numbers. The humans showed you what they wanted you to see, Shexith replied. War Coordinator. In my 140 years, I have studied 17 major conflicts. I have analyzed thousands of battles, and I have learned that when an enemy volunteers information about their capabilities, you should be very, very suspicious. They did not volunteer. We observed their weapons in action, did you? Or did they demonstrate certain weapons while keeping others hidden? Tell me, War Coordinator. If you were defending your homeworld and you destroyed an enemy fleet, would you then broadcast the specifications of all your weapons to that enemy? Gendrax felt his neck frill tighten. They were trying to intimidate us. Yes, but why those specific weapons? Why show railguns and energy beams but nothing else? Why demonstrate their drone swarms but not mention other systems? What are they not showing us? Fleet Commander Threxall spoke up. Advisor, with respect, we have had our best analysts study every second of the battle footage. We have modeled their weapons. We have developed countermeasures. Even if they have additional capabilities, our numerical advantage is too great. 8,000 ships against whatever defenses they have hidden in their system. And if their defenses extend beyond their system? Shexith asked quietly. The room fell silent. Gendrax stared at the old advisor. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that a species capable of hiding advanced technology for decades might also be capable of hiding the true extent of their military reach. You plan to jump into their system at the outer edge, yes? Near the 8th planet like the 4th Expeditionary Fleet did? No, we learned from that mistake. We will emerge closer to their world, strike before they can fully mobilize. And you believe they have not anticipated this? The humans have been watching us assemble this fleet for weeks. They know exactly how many ships we have. They know our capabilities. They have had time to prepare for every possible approach vector. Gendrax slammed his hand on the table. Then what would you have us do, advisor? Surrender? Accept that humans can destroy our fleet and threaten our capital with no consequences. The Imperium has ruled for 4,000 years. We do not run from primitives. They are not primitives, Shexith said softly. That is what you refuse to accept. They are not primitives who got lucky. They are not a minor species that happen to have good defenses. They are something we have never encountered before. A species that watched us, studied us, and prepared specifically to fight us. All the more reason to destroy them now, before they become an even greater threat. Shexith sighed. I cannot stop you, War Coordinator. The High Council will likely authorize this assault. The pressure is too great, too many voices calling for vengeance. But I want you to consider something. In 4,000 years of Imperium history, we have never completely lost. We have had setbacks. We have had costly victories. But we have never been truly defeated. Perhaps that is because we have never faced an enemy like this before. She turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. War Coordinator, I have one question for you. The humans claimed they would need 12 minutes to destroy 3,000 ships. They claimed if we sent our entire armada, they would show us why Earth invented the word genocide. Do you think they were bluffing? Gendrax met her eyes. I think they were trying to frighten us. And if they were not? If they meant every word? What then? She left without waiting for an answer. The meeting continued for 3 more hours. Gendrax and his commanders refined their battle plan. They identified weaknesses in the human defenses. They created contingencies for every scenario. They were thorough. They were professional. They were confident. 2 days later, the High Council voted. 11 members authorized the assault. Only Trevnash voted against it. The decision was made. Gendrax received the authorization with fierce joy. Finally, he would have the chance to prove the Imperium's strength. He would succeed where Thexelon failed. He would bring the humans to heel and remind the galaxy why the Valorian Imperium was to be feared. The Grand Armada prepared for departure. Ships checked their systems one final time. Weapons were charged. Shields were tested. Troops boarded assault craft. The largest military operation in 3 centuries was ready to begin. Gendrax stood on his command deck and addressed the entire fleet through the communication network. Warriors of the Imperium, today we embark on a mission of justice. The humans destroyed our 4th Expeditionary Fleet. They killed 3,000 of our brothers and sisters. They threatened our capital world. This cannot stand. We will show them that the Imperium does not forgive. We do not forget, and we do not lose. For the glory of the Imperium, 8,000 ships echoed the battle cry. For the glory of the Imperium! The fleet entered hyperspace in perfect formation. The journey to Sol would take 4 days. 4 days to cover the distance between Kepler 442 and the human home system. 4 days before the largest military force in Valorian history emerged into human space. On Earth, in the command center beneath the Swiss mountains, Admiral Chen Yuki watched the Valorian fleet disappear into hyperspace. She had been monitoring them since they started assembling. Every ship counted, every weapon system cataloged, every strategic decision analyzed. Commander Jackson stood beside her. They are coming. Yes, are we ready? Chen thought about that question. Humanity had spent 60 years preparing for this moment. 60 years of building weapons in secret. 60 years of turning their solar system into a fortress. 60 years of hoping it would never be necessary. Jackson, do you know why I joined the military? Chen asked. Jackson looked surprised by the personal question. No, Admiral. I had a teacher when I was young. She told me about World War II, about how her grandfather fought in that war. She said he used to tell her that the worst thing about war is not the fighting. It is the moment before the fighting. The moment when you know it is coming and you cannot stop it. You can only prepare and hope you prepared enough. We have prepared, Admiral. Have we? We destroyed 1 fleet. Now they send 8,000 ships. What if Shexeth is right? What if they developed effective countermeasures? What if our weapons do not work as well the second time? Then we use Protocol Nightfall. Chen nodded slowly. Protocol Nightfall. The weapon humanity hoped never to use. The weapon that crossed every moral line. The weapon that would prove to the galaxy exactly how dangerous humans could be. Contact the Nightfall ships, Chen ordered. Have them deploy to the Kepler 442 system. 3 ships. Full stealth. They are authorized to launch on my command or on automatic if they lose contact with Sol. Yes, Admiral and Jackson. Make sure they understand. If they launch, there is no going back. We will have crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. They understand. Admiral Chen returned her attention to the displays. Somewhere in hyperspace, 8,000 Valorian warships were racing toward Earth. Toward her home. Toward 7 billion people who were depending on her to keep them safe. Captain Maria Santos sat in the pilot seat of the stealth ship Twilight and tried not to think about what she was carrying. The ship was small, barely larger than an atmospheric shuttle. 3 crew members, minimal weapons, maximum stealth technology, and in the cargo bay, 3 devices that should never have been built. Approaching the Kepler 442 system, announced Lieutenant Kim from the navigation station. Dropping to sublight in 30 seconds. Keep us dark, Santos ordered. Passive sensors only. I do not want them to know we are here. The Twilight slipped out of hyperspace like a ghost. Around them, the Kepler 442 system blazed with activity. 8,000 Valorian warships filled the space near the 4th planet. Support vessels moved between them. Supply shuttles ferried materials. It was organized chaos on a massive scale. They are preparing to jump, observed Ensign Okoye from the sensor station. Estimate 3 hours until departure. Santos activated the secure communication link to Earth. The message would take several minutes to reach Admiral Chen across the light years. Twilight to command. We are in position. Targets acquired. Awaiting authorization. She leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes. 2 days ago, she had been conducting routine patrol in the asteroid belt. Then came the orders. Report to classified facility on Mars. Meet crew. Take command of special mission ship. Do not ask questions. The questions came anyway, of course. When they loaded the 3 devices into the Twilight's cargo bay, Santos had demanded to know what they were. The response had been terrifying in its simplicity. Hawking-class singularity generators. If activated, they will create artificial black holes. The black holes will evaporate through Hawking radiation, after consuming everything in a 20 astronomical unit radius. The devices are completely automated. Once deployed, they cannot be stopped. Santos had stared at the scientist explaining this. You built artificial black holes. Yes, Captain. Why? Because we calculated that eventually, we might face an enemy we could not defeat through conventional means. An enemy so numerous or so powerful that only a weapon of absolute destruction would be effective. And you think the Valorians are that enemy? The scientist had looked at her with tired eyes. Captain, the Valorians are sending 8,000 ships to destroy Earth. If they reach Sol, millions will die even if we win. These devices end the war before it reaches our home. They are terrible. They are horrible. But they are necessary. Now sitting in the dark near Kepler 442, Santos understood. The Valorian fleet was too large. Even with all of Earth's defenses, the battle would be devastating. Ships would be destroyed. Defense platforms would fall. People would die, unless humanity struck first. The response came from Admiral Chen. Twilight, you are authorized to deploy on my command. Stand by. Santos opened the ship-wide communication. Kim, Okoye, you heard the Admiral. We are standing by for deployment authorization. Check your systems. When this starts, it will happen fast. Captain, Kim said quietly, do you ever wonder if we are the bad guys? Santos considered the question. Every day, Lieutenant. Every single day. But then I remember that they came to us. They sent warships to invade our home. We asked to be left alone. They refused. So now we show them what happens when you push humanity too far. 8,000 ships, Captain. That is 8,000 crews. Hundreds of thousands of people. I know. They have families, children waiting for them to come home. I know, Santos said again. Her voice was harder now. And Earth has 7 billion people. 7 billion lives depending on us. If we do not stop them here, they reach Sol. If they reach Sol, how many die? How many children lose their parents? How many families burn? Kim was silent. The hours crawled past. The Valorian fleet completed its final preparations. Santos watched them through passive sensors. They were confident. She could see it in how they moved. Precise formations, efficient communications. They believed they would win. They had no idea humanity was already here. The Twilight stealth systems made them invisible to Valorian sensors. Humanity had learned a lot from watching the galaxy for 60 years. They had learned how to hide. Twilight, this is Admiral Chen. Deploy the devices. Authorization code Alpha 7 Omega. Execute on my mark. Santos felt her heart hammering. This was it. The moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. The moment they proved they were not prey. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Santos activated the cargo bay release. The 3 Hawking-class devices ejected from the Twilight in different directions. They were small, no larger than escape pods. They drifted into the Valorian fleet formation, lost among the thousands of ships and supply containers. Just 3 more pieces of debris in a crowded space, devices deployed, Santos reported. Activation in 60 seconds. On his command ship, War Coordinator Gendrax reviewed the final jump calculations. Everything was perfect. The fleet would emerge in Sol space near the 3rd planet. Close enough to strike immediately, far enough to avoid any ambush like the one that destroyed the 4th Expeditionary Fleet. All ships report ready, War Coordinator. Fleet Commander Threxall announced. Excellent. Initiate jump sequence. Today, the Imperium shows these humans what true power looks like. Today, we teach them that the sensors screamed, every alarm on every ship activated simultaneously. Gravitational anomalies. 3 of them. Growing exponentially. Warning, warning. Catastrophic gravitational forces detected. Gendrax stared at his displays in confusion. What is happening? The answer came in the form of 3 points of absolute darkness appearing among the fleet. They were tiny at first, smaller than fighter craft, but they pulled at reality itself with impossible hunger. The Hawking-class singularity generators had activated, artificial black holes bloomed into existence. The closest ships did not explode. They did not burn. They simply ceased to exist. Matter torn apart at the molecular level and compressed into the singularities. The black holes grew with each ship they consumed. Evasive action, Gendrax screamed. All ships, emergency jump. Get out now. But gravitational forces do not allow for escape. Ships that tried to jump found their hyperspace drives failing. The intense gravity wells disrupted the very fabric of space they needed to enter. They were trapped. The 3 black holes pulled at everything. Ships that were light minutes away felt the gravitational shear. Those closer were doomed. The Grand Armada, 8,000 ships strong, began to fall into the hungry darkness. Some captains tried to run. Their engines pushed at maximum power, but they only delayed the inevitable. Others fired weapons at the black holes, as if conventional ordnance could destroy the fundamental forces of the universe. Nothing worked. Gendrax watched his fleet die. Ships twisted and stretched as they fell into the event horizons. Metal screamed. Hulls cracked. Thousands of lives ended in seconds, and there was nothing he could do. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No species has this technology. No one can create black holes, but the humans could. The humans did." The last thing Jendrak saw before his own ship fell into darkness was a single message broadcasted on all frequencies. "You should have stayed away." Then gravity claimed him. Captain Santos watched the destruction on her sensors. The black holes consumed everything within 20 astronomical units, ships, stations, even the light from nearby stars bent and twisted before disappearing into the darkness. "How long until the singularities evaporate?" Kim asked. "Calculations suggest 47 hours, Santos replied. "The Hawking radiation will break them down. By the time they fully evaporate, nothing will remain." 8,000 ships. "Yes. We just killed an army." "We ended a war," Santos corrected, but her hands shook as she said it. The twilight turned and slipped back into hyperspace, leaving behind the expanding field of gravitational destruction. The mission was complete, but elsewhere across Valorian space, another part of humanity's plan activated. Thousands of small probes emerged from quantum slipspace. They appeared in orbit around Imperium worlds, above military bases, near shipyards, close to government centers. Each probe broadcast the same message in clear Valorian language. "The Valorian Imperium sent 8,000 ships to destroy Earth. Earth has erased them. You have 24 hours to broadcast unconditional surrender across all galactic civilizations. Acknowledge Earth's sovereignty over the Sol system and surrounding 50 light-years. Failure to comply will result in systematic erasure of all 12,000 Imperium systems." The probes carried antimatter payloads. Scanning systems confirmed it. Each device held enough antimatter to sterilize a planet. And there were thousands of probes, thousands of worlds under direct threat. High Counselor Trevanash received the message in his private chambers. He sat down heavily, his neck frill fading to pale gray. Around him, his aides panicked. "We must respond," one said. "Mobilize whatever fleets remain." "Strike back. With what?" Trevanash asked quietly. "Our Grand Armada is gone. 8,000 ships. Our finest warriors, all erased in minutes. And now these humans have devices in orbit around our most important worlds. Devices that can destroy those worlds. What would you have me do? Send more ships? Give them more targets to destroy? High Counselor, we cannot surrender. The Imperium has never surrendered." "Then the Imperium will end," Trevanash said. "Is your pride worth 12,000 worlds? Is it worth trillions of lives?"